Welcome to the last day, day 4. Today we're talking about devotion or action. I like to call it action because this is something that you need to stay devoted to. This part of the journey, this is what really solidifies your desire into the 3D, right? We live in a physical world. We need to take physical 3D action and we need to stay devoted to the path that we've already laid out in front of us. So when you follow this process, the 5D amplifier process, you're essentially doing the work, laying out the stepping stones in front of you that are necessary, that are going to help you step onto and into your desire. And so in order to do that, you need to take the step. You need to take the action that you're being called to do. Even when it feels like it doesn't make sense, even when it feels like your 3D is not moving quick enough or that the results aren't coming, we need to stay devoted to the action that we're being guided to take. Sometimes these action steps that we feel called to do are not going to make sense within reason. Obviously, you're going to need to use your discernment here. But generally, some of the things that you're being asked to do, they're going to be scary. That's why we do nervous system calibration, especially when you're making your first premium offer, when you're raising your prices, when you're deciding to charge 4 figures at a bare minimum for your offers. That is scary. But sometimes that's a necessary step to make it towards the goal that we're calling in. It's a necessary part of the embodiment. And so we need to stay devoted to taking those steps and to doing the things that are necessary, the aligned action to call what we want in. And again, as I touched on before when we were talking about embodiment, aligned action is not something that is forced. It's not something that should feel constantly uncomfortable and like something that you have to force. When we work with this process, the aligned action becomes streamlined. You know from doing your own planning and your own scoping of what needs to be done, and you're going to be guided to take those steps. And sometimes these steps, they can't be revealed until action has been taken. And this is another common issue that I find with specifically a lot of spiritual people or creative people who have all of these ideas floating around their head. And yet, instead of actioning them, they get paralyzed because they have so much going on. They have so much they want to do, but they don't take the step because they don't know what the next 5 steps are. You're not going to know all the steps until you just start moving. This is a massive part of embodiment. They need you, your guides, your higher self, they need you to move, to take the action so that they can then put the last stepping stone in front. It's almost like if you imagine you've got 2 stones, right? They can't move this one from behind you until you step on the front one. You have to keep moving and taking the action that you feel called and inspired to take, even when you do not know what the next 3 steps look like. Keep it moving. This is what many people refer to as messy action, right? You don't necessarily know. You know where you're going, you know what the desire is, but you don't know what all the steps are to that. That's fine. Just keep on moving. Now, depending on the calibration of your nervous system to each desire or goal that you set, you're going to find yourself in different spots energetically. This is why I put so much focus on the nervous system work, so you can prevent this from happening. But should this happen, if you find yourself kind of uninspired or frozen or unsure of how to even take the next step, this is your nervous system telling you that it doesn't have the capacity or the calibration yet to really anchor that reality in. And so if this is the case, then you go back to calibrating your nervous system and pushing through the edges of discomfort again. If you ever feel frozen or stuck and you don't know how to even move your foot onto the next thing, go back to the nervous system work, because your next steps, they come from what I call the expanded body. It comes from what you tap into as you're expanding your nervous system, right? Who you are right now in terms of like what you're embodied in, you don't know all of the steps to make a 7-figure year. You don't know that consciously. This comes from your expanded body as you tap in and expand your awareness, as you expand your capacity. That's where the information lies. So we need to continuously come back to expanding the nervous system to receive the information and to hold the reality that we're calling. When it comes to action in your business, as we just touched on, this is going to look differently depending on what your goal is, what your desire is, and depending on where you're moving. Sometimes this might look like an increase in prices. It might look like creating an offering that you've never created before. It might look like really shifting the language that you're using and speaking to a different person, a person who's more aligned with where you're moving your business to. It might look like implementing new marketing strategies. And these strategies might be starting a blog, it might be vlogging, it might be whatever you feel called to do, whatever lights you up and makes you feel excited to jump in and do. That is a key, that is something significant to take you to your next level. Now, I know there's going to be different realms of people that are watching this. Some of you will be much more in your creative flow. Some of you will be a little bit more logical and you'll like to want a plan. That's fine. If a plan is something that works for you, again, remember, this is about your path and what resonates with you the most. If you're someone who likes a plan, you like to plan, then do the calibration work, do the desire work, and you'll be led through the embodiment, obviously, as a natural result of that. And you can make a plan. You can make a brief outline of, if I want to make it to this, then these are the things that are going to help me, and work towards working towards those. I know for me specifically, when I decided that I was going to level up my business, I knew that I had to take action that I had never taken before if I wanted to get a result that I had never had before. This is key. And I made a post on this. If you want more abundance than you have ever had, then you need to take action that you've never taken. New action creates these new results. And this is what you're guided to when you go through this process. So when I decided, and I fully decided to step in, anchor in, and embody this new version of me, this new business, this new reality, I knew that this meant hiring out and calling in help. I knew that it meant shifting language, that it meant shifting services. It meant uprooting a lot of things that I had built my business on and directing it to somewhere new. Again, these are things that can feel quite scary. Raising my prices, creating different offerings, calling in a whole wave of new different people that are not as similar as people that I'd worked with before. And this is why I spent December and January, and I continue to do the nervous system calibration work to bring me through and push through my edges and keep on going. Even when it felt like results were not happening, even if it felt like people weren't signing up for this, I have to keep going and pushing and taking the action while holding the vision. And lo and behold, now we have over 100 of you that have signed up for this, because that's how I was calibrating my nervous system. And it's the same with a launch. When you're launching something new, you have to be able to sit with the discomfort. You have to be able to hold the fears that are coming up and to move through them and just allow them, whilst not taking on these fears and these identities as a core part of yourself. So when we're launching, there's so many emotions there. But if we didn't continue the path of devotion, the path of action, we would never have known what the end result is. There are so many stories out there of people who were launching something they're selling and weeks go by, and there's very few people that are trickling in, only to find out in the last week, sometimes in the last few days, that they call in 10, 20, 50 people, all in the last few days. Now, if they had given up and if they had stopped the launch because they thought things aren't working as well as I want them to, I'm going to stop, then they would have never have got the end result of all of those people joining up. We can't control the rate at which reality shifts, but we can control the part that we play in it. So this is again where nervous system calibration is going to help you move through these times that you feel taxing or tough, or when you have the self-doubt come in, coming back to your core vision, the core reason why you created what it is that you're selling, why you're taking this action, coming back to your why people need this, why I know this is going to serve so many people. That is going to be a very quick way to bring that fire back, because you just know at the core of you, this is a part of your soul's work. People need to hear this and people want to experience this. There are so many people out there that need your magic, that need your work, and that need your services. And as the years go on, specifically this year, there are going to be a lot of people that are looking for people that offer services like you, for people that are embodied completely in who they are and the services that they offer, who are not afraid to revolutionize the way that we do marketing, the way that we offer coaching, mentorship, space holding, and guidance. I know all of you in here are being called to that, to this revolutionary movement, which comes from each of us individually. And I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come into this space, to gather together, to support each other, to share. It's been such a blessing to hold this space and to see how you've all interacted with each other and to see what you've taken away from these past 4 days. I encourage you to keep up with this process, to keep following the guidance that you're given and calibrating your nervous system and sustain these goals and desires that your soul is asking of you because it is needed. It is essential for the collective to experience you coming into your power, whether that means clients that you work with or even on an energetic level. When we remember our sovereignty, when we reclaim who we are, the ripples that that sends out to the collective energetically are more powerful than I can express in words. So thank you again for coming together, for joining me on this 4-day journey. And I would love to have you pioneers join me in the 3-month experience of the Pioneers Path. If that resonates with you, if you want to know more, or if you're feeling called already to jump straight in with your 50% discount, then I'll leave the link below. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. I have loved every moment of these 4 days.